Okay. So in the I had sent you two data. This is hard.csv and O2 saturation.csv. So first let's download these two data. Oh, I need to sign up. Can't find this page. What happened? Hard.csv. Download. Sign in Google and can't find the page.
You are not signed into Google, it looks like.
No, I am signed in, right?
Showing account null.
Visit on home page. Anybody else able to download this data?
Yeah, yeah, I have downloaded.
Then just paste it there.
Okay.
So I uh, so here is a sample heart attack data visualization you will get that people have done this. I had given you some targets that you had to achieve, right? So so we will do that today here. Uh, Once Deepika shares it on the screen. So so we'll do sample visualization, data visualization. So here the author is
I send that zip in
okay
the chat.
in the chat. Okay, where is the chat? Hmm. Okay, okay. So before I do it myself, you can go and see. See, the Kaggle is a very good place for you to learn. Okay, so so you can see various people working on the same data in various ways and finding out various insights. So it will give you in the beginning. What happens is that you don't get the fire or the way to actually get insights from data, right? So you are limited with the number of tools that you have in your hand. Okay. I taught some of the tools in the last two classes, but there are definitely more than that. Okay. So Kaggle is a very good place where you can learn that. Mostly I spend a lot of data in Kaggle websites and get this idea of EDA. EDA means exploratory data analysis. So if you guys have gone through NumPy and Pandas, then you must be knowing that this read CSV command is the basic command to read a CSV like hard.csv into a table data structure called data. So we call it as a data frame. Okay. So this is the like basic data structure a data scientist must know. Okay, so it is like SQL tables. So if you are acquainted with SQL tables, then this is something like that. It has columns and it has rows. Each row tells about one record, and each column is an attribute, right? So we read the data from the CSV file into a data frame, and then we dot head means just show me the first five rows. Okay, what is the objective of this activity in in line number 3? The objective is to just see the names of the attributes. Okay, because I am just seeing 5 rows, so I am not really concerned about the instances. I'm not really concerned about the records. I am here trying to see what are the variables or features that are available to me in this data set. So I have age, sex, CP, I don't know what it is. This is, I think, beats per second, cholesterol, fasting blood sugar, ECG, uh, something. So here this, as you can see, the column names are not uh, very explanatory, right? EXNG, we don't know what is it. Okay, so definitely, what will happen is that there has to be a meta information about this information. So this is an information. This is an information, but this information in itself is in a raw format, right? We are thinking this is beats per second, but TRT beats per second, what is that? I don't know. So there has to be a connection through which a data scientist can make a relationship between this information and what it actually means in the domain, right? So this domain belongs to which field? Medical field, right? So that's why we may be having very less idea. We are able to tell about cholesterol and fasting sugar because we have seen it, done it ourselves. So we have some information, but other things like CA, SLP, old peak, EXNG, we don't know what are these because we are not from the medical background. But suppose you are working at a medical company, healthcare company, and you are a data scientist. Then what is your next step? What do you do about the next step? Is you have to understand what these columns say, right? What are their exact meanings? What are the physical meaning around these columns? How you will do that? You will do that either by asking people or by gathering more information about them, right? Uh, about them from different other databases. Okay, that may be possible. Or you might have a list, a check, a cheat code kind of list where it will be written EXNG stands for this, SLP stands for this. Okay, something like that. So this is the next step that we do. That's why this head command gives us a benefit, right? So as soon as I read the data, my first rule says that I will do the head command and I will see that what I am looking at makes any sense to me or not. Okay, so this is my first step. Second step is info. Info means it tells me quantitative information about the data. Quantitative, right? That is, it has 303 entries. That means there it has 303 records, right? 303 records it has. We are seeing the first five here. Similarly, there are 303 records. Total 14 columns. That means there are 14 features. We have talked about feature engineering, right? So 14 features, 303 entries, and the data type of each column. Okay, age is a int 64. Uh, Apart from old peak, everything is a int 64. Okay, so and the total memory this table or CSV file captures in the memory is 33.3 KB. Okay, so that means this is not a very big data. This is not a very big data. This is only 303 entries. It's a small data and it can be managed in memory. This is very important. Okay, so what is data? What is data? Data is a class of type data frame, which is a class in the package pandas core frame data frame. Okay, so that's why I said you to read about pandas. Okay, so in the pandas package, there is a sub package called data frame, which is here the data, the same data here. This is a table, tabular data containing 303 rows, 14 columns of this type of data. Okay, and it is not a big data. It is a very small data, and the important takeaway from here is that Since I have only 303 entries, I can do all my processing in memory. I can do in memory processing. Okay, I will teach you about out of memory processing in pandas. Suppose this was not 303 entries, but this was uh, 3 million entries, right? So if I load the entire CSV file into a data structure called data, what will happen? All that file is in the disk, right? The file, see that hard.csv file will be in the disk. It has 3 million records. So it will be around some 2 GB. Say, let's assume it is around 2 GB. When I do read CSV of that hard.csv, it is loaded in the variable data. This variable resides where? This variable resides in the Python runtime, right? Python runtime. What is the Python runtime? Where does it exist? It exists. It's in the RAM, in the system memory RAM. So that means in my RAM has to have minimum 2 GB of data free to load this. Once I load this, then I'll do all the, just a moment. Once I load this, then there will be questions about my analysis and inspection of the data. But to load this itself, I need 2 GB of RAM, right? Which is very costly affair. Nowadays it is available, but it is difficult. So that time we have to read in batches. We have to read the data in batches. That means, say, first 1,000 rows we read and keep it in memory. Rest 3 million minus 1,000 rows are in the disk. And then we process that way. So that is done by Dask data frame. Dask data frame. This is one library that I will teach later. So you remember, just remember the name about it, Dask data frame, and we will see how to handle big data with the help of Dask data frame. Okay, so this is one. Uh, this is one. So what did I do? I saw the columns. I tried to make sense out of it. I saw the number of entries. I also, that gave me an idea that this is not big data, so I can do in-memory operations. Then next is I will do a histogram. I will do straight away an histogram of all the columns. And histogram is applicable for all the columns. Okay, you remember we read about different types of data: continuous data, discrete data, incontinuous data, what kind of
histogram is for discrete data, right?
Sorry?
Histogram is for discrete data.
Yeah. So continuous and discrete data, and in continuous data, then there are three more types of data. Discrete data, there are 2 more types of data. So total 5 types of data were there, and what all type of graphs and charts are applicable to those type of data, we learned about that. And one thing is, all we learned that histograms can be drawn for any kind of data. Okay, so in here we do a histogram, and histogram tells us a lot about the data. You see here it tells me that the age is normal distribution. If I connect all the top positions of all the boxes, then I will get a bell curve which is little bit skewed on the right side. So I can tell that it is a little bit skewed normal distribution of age, which is very natural, right? The people in the hospital who are coming will be very old persons are less, very young kids are also less. In between them are more. Sex is a binary data, right? Discrete data, binary data. So either I will have male or I will have female. So it is purely a binary data. Now CP is a categorical data. You see there are 4 categories, right? This is not continuous. So I don't know what is CP, but I know at least from the histogram that it is categorical data, right? Similarly, I have beats per second, and I have a lot of other data, right? So this old peak is also a continuous data. It is also a continuous data which follows a logarithmic graph. See, logarithmic graph. So there is some statistical significance of this type of graphs. Okay. So we have either a categorical data or a binary data or a continuous data. So to plot the histograms is the next step. So what we did, we saw with the columns, we saw the information, and we saw the histogram. So this much, if we do, we will have a pretty good idea about what we are dealing with. Okay, so this is one of the important challenges of a data scientist, is that every time they are bombarded with lot of different types of data, right? So so sometimes you are working with healthcare data, sometimes you are working with say computer vision data, image processing data, sometimes you are defense data. Okay, so there are automobile data, then networking data. So many domains of technology are there from where the data can be bombarded at you. So you have to have some tools in your box which will help you to first get a hold of the data. Okay, so imagine yourself like a plumber. Okay, imagine you as yourself like a plumber. So you cannot say that I have never worked on tanks, water tanks. I have only worked in house pipe connections, so I cannot do it. You cannot say that, right? You're a plumber. So you have a toolbox and you are sent to different locations wherever there is a problem in plumbing, and you are expected to solve those problems. So what kind of tools will you keep in your box, and how will you use those tools to assess the problem and then approach the solution? That is your completely your personal choice. So what I am telling you is some of my personal choices, and I am giving you the Kaggle website as a link of reference from where you can learn some more tools of reference. Out of all this, you can develop your own set of tools of reference. So suppose tomorrow you go to interview and you are asked a question on exploratory data analysis. The interviewer asks you what you will do as a data scientist, how you will approach this problem. So you will have your own recipe, right, which you follow. Whenever you are bombarded with a new set of data which you are not aware about, you do some homework about that data, and then you use your tools to assess the data and then start approaching to solve the problems. So how will you develop that? You will develop that by 2 ways. One is from me, second is from websites like Kaggle. So it is not an exhaustive study that I can tell you that these are the only finite number of ways you can analyze the data. There is no upper limit to these techniques. Okay, every
So
other day. Sorry, yeah,
I have
mhm.
one question.
Yeah, tell me.
Here in that plot, what it takes like x and y axis, how I will know
Frequency.
like
Histogram is frequency. Count.
frequent.
Count. Suppose
Okay.
that means age 60,
Hmm.
60 people had come.
Okay. Number of people
Yes.
with different age.
So if we see the definition of histogram, what does histogram say? A diagram consists of rectangles whose area is proportional to the frequency of a variable
Okay.
and whose width is equal to the class interval. What is the class? Age class. 40 to 60 age, 60 to 80 age. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So this is so yeah. So this is our first step. Let us see if there are some more work that has been done. So how do you use Kaggle website? You first go to the data section. Here you see that you have data. Then you go to the code section. 82 codes means 82 people have worked on this data. Okay, and they have done some analysis. Okay, so let us see. This one is heart attack sample data visualization we saw first. Let us see what this person has done. Okay, the database contains 76 attributes, but all published experiments refer to using subset of 14 of them in particular. So he has made some internet search and figured out that actually 76 attributes were there, and but 14 of them were given here. And these are the columns you see. We got the metadata information: age, sex, CPT was like chest pain type. Okay, so FBS, fasting blood sugar. Old peak means ST, depression induced by exercise relative to rest, something. But we got more information, right? So this person, what he did, he collected the meta information about the features, about the columns. Now you may say that this is not my job. I'm a data scientist. This is not my job. This is the job of a doctor, or this is the job of a biologist. No, it is not. You have to have proper understanding about the domain on which you are working. Okay, so you have to do a little bit of homework. It's not like you understand electrocardiography in detail, but you understand at least what the values represent. 0, 1, 2, what it represents. Okay, that much is important. Okay, so you see he has done that homework. This is kind of a homework that we all have to do. Okay, about when we get a data which is very alien to us. Okay, when data which is very near unknown to us, it is okay, very nice, but which is alien to us is there is the problem. Okay, so here he has again read the data into the data frame. Okay, he has, see, another way of looking at the data. We did df.info earlier. We can also do df.shape. It will give the shape of the data. Means 303 rows, 14 columns. So this shape is a very important variable of a data frame. Okay. So why I am saying all this is these are practically used things in the runtime, right? So if I tell you tomorrow that go and read entire pandas, you will you will get lost. Even I don't know entire pandas. I may be knowing only 10 to 20% of pandas. Okay, but that is how it is. It is to actually to be used. Nobody goes and reads a library. Everybody uses that library, and sometimes we face challenges. Then we do Google search and we learn more. That is how. But at least the ABCD you should know about a library if you are using the library. So ABCD you know means you can start working on that. Later on, in your mind it comes that is there a short way I can know how many rows and how many columns are there in a data frame? If you search it, you will get this dot shape information. Then you will start using it. So that is how it slowly it increases your knowledge, your tool sets increases, right? So similarly, df.columns, that I can either do a head and see the columns, or I can do a dot columns and see the columns. Anything I can do. Okay, that dot head, if I do, then it gives me a nice tabular structure. But if I do dot columns, then it gives me a list. Now question is, what should I use? If I am doing coding, then I will use this, because it becomes easy for me to parse it, because it is a list, right? It's a list. I can do 0, 1, 2, 3 positions, and I can see one column names. But if I'm doing coding, I'm doing dot head, the return of this one is a table. Now parsing the table is more difficult. So I will not use dot head when I am doing coding. I'll do dot head when I am doing Jupyter notebooks, where I have to this for display purpose. Okay. So similarly, there is a dot tail. Okay. Then nan check. Nan is a type of data type which is like null. In our C, C++ or Python, we have null, right? Which is void, nothing. So nan, you have to check. You have to check the data frame is null any. So it will tell you which columns do have any nan values. Fortunately, all the columns has false. That means all the columns does not have any nan value. This is very important step to check nan values, because what will happen, I'll tell you. If you have 3 million records, okay, and you are not checking, you're obviously your eyes are not so powerful that you can see all the 3 million records at a time. You will do either head or tail, right? And then on the assumption of that, you will write your entire code, assuming that in some place there are nan values. What will happen? You are doing a manipulation on edge, or you say you are doing a manipulation on the variable uh, fasting blood sugar, okay, FBS. Out of 303%, 3% have nan values. 300% have correct values, digital floating point values, but 3% have nan values. But since you cannot see all the data at a time, you can see either head and tail. So what you do coding, and you are dividing the FBS value with the heart rate to calculate something, which is another analytics you're doing. You're dividing the heart rate with the fasting blood sugar value. So what will happen? Your program will get a big exception when it will reach the nan values, because you will be looping through the column of all those 303 records, and for those 3 records it will have a division error exception. Okay, so it is very important to first clean your data of nan values. Okay, first is check if there are nan values, and if there are nan values, then how do I handle them? There is also steps for that. There is also rules for that. Okay, so this is here he is checking for nan values. Okay, now target means how many people already got heart attack. So target is the variable which says how many people already got heart attack. So So here, okay, so okay, so we'll do it this way. So let's now go to DF target. We'll break this into small by small parts and understand what he is doing. DF target. What is DF? DF is the data frame. Target is what? Target is the column which tells that how many people already got the heart attack. Okay. So that means either you got a heart attack or you did not get a heart attack. So target is a binary data, right? Either you got a heart attack or you didn't. In between, there is nothing, right? So df dot target means I get the entire column first. Now dot value counts. What is this variable does? Value counts in pandas. Okay. Returns a series containing counts of unique values. Okay. So that means if column a column is also a series, by the way. If you I'll just tell you, df target is what? A column, right? The target column, this column. A column is a series in a data structure name. A column is a series, and on a series object we have a function called value counts, which gives us the unique counts inside that series. That means if there are 4 unique counts, then each count how many times they are there, that will give us. Okay. So here value counts, how many types are there? 2 types are there, either 1 or 0. Either you got a heart attack or you did not get a heart attack. Okay. So value counts returns me, it returns another series which contains the counts of the unique values. And the unique values are 0 and 1. And the count is 165 and 138. Now up to here we are done. Now from a series to frame, what is does it do? To frame. This is also a method for series class. C. Series, pandas series class to frame. Converts a series to a data frame. Simple. PD series ABC. So it converts it into a data frame. See, S dot to frame. So what is the output? Output is like 0, 1, 2 index number. This is the index column and ABC. So I had a series. I converted that series to a data frame, a rectangular data. Okay, this is a linear data and this is a rectangular data. Okay, so same thing they did here. So if I did not do this, but why I did this? To have a good visualization. But when I'm coding, I will try to avoid this because I only need the counts. That is important for me. That is enough for me. I don't need two frame. Two frame he has done just to have a nice visualization effect here. So you see, this is a very small analytics or EDA that he did. He took one column, counted the unique values, and printed it in a tabular format. Now tell me why he used value counts here. Why not some other function? Because from the histogram, he saw that target is a binary data, right? So target is a binary data. So when the number of categories are countable, finite, then value counts is useful. But if suppose target, there are 100 types of target. Now there is only 2 types of target, 1 and 0. Assume there are 100 types of targets. If I do a value count, then that will give another big list to me, and it is of no use because it is another big information. So we are always trying to make big information into smaller informations crisp informations, right? So my histogram told me that this is a categorical binary data, and hence value counts make sense. If I have to see how many people got heart attack and how many not. Okay, this is a basic the question that will come in mind. How many people got heart attack? Okay, now I can do a beautiful pie plot on this because it's a categorical data, if you remember. So I can straight away use this data frame, and from the data frame itself I can do a plot. Okay, so you see, so 1 means they got a heart attack, 0 means so more people got heart attack than and less people did not get. Okay, so that means it is risky. The ratio of people who already got heart attack is more comparatively to the people who have less chance of getting it. Okay, so that means this is one of the insights. This is a very small insight which we generated from this. Okay, so see, you have to understand how they are linked. Okay, so first I took the data frame. If the data frame is small or not, how many records it has, how many columns it has. I do some research about the column names. Try to understand what is the meaning of them. Then I do a histogram plot of them to try to understand what type of data it is, categorical or non-categorical or continuous or discrete or ordinal or what. And then based on that, I do a value count. Based on the value count, I do a pie chart. Based on the pie chart, I get a insight that, okay, more people are at risk. Then something needs to be done. So this one now gives me an indication that something wrong is happening with these people, that so many people are at risk. We have to find that. So this insight raises question for more insights. So it is like everything is connected here, right? So everything is connected here. It is no single rule and regulation. It is not like you get a CSV file or you get a table and there is a set of protocols or rules. I have said first do this, second do this, third do this, fourth do this. No, it is all your intuition. On the spot, what do you think what should be done? Okay, so that will come with experience. Similarly, see sex. You wanted to see that, okay, let us see how many people participated. 200 people male and 96 females. Okay, so more males participated than females. So it's clear that males are the one where heart attack is common. It is almost 2 times greater. Okay, so this is a very important uh, finding. Why are men more heart attack is happening? Now correlation. This is also read, right? So we want to do correlation. DF dot correlation. The entire data frame correlation. Every column correlation with other column. See, 14 columns here, 14 columns here, right? So age is to age will be 1. So the diagonal will always be 1. Understood? Diagonal will always be 1 because it is the same age to age, sex to sex, CP to CP. But we are not concerned about the diagonal one. We are concerned about the others. So with respect to age, how is sex correlated? There is a negative correlation, slight negative correlation, minus 0.098. That means with age, sex declines slowly. Okay, so this is called a, you have to remember this heat map, this function. Okay, this is CMAP is color map. It will tell us that which one to paint as red color, which one to paint as blue color. Okay, So here will be the heat map here. So this is a beautiful information which will tell you relationship between every two columns. Now question is correlation only between two columns? Can correlation not be between more than two columns? Yes, it can be, right? We'll see how it is done. Okay.
So
And
yeah, for now.
yeah,
Yeah, so the table above which you showed us, right? So this can be obtained like through the, like we have that mathematical formula for deriving correlation. So both are
correct,
same.
correct. Yes, same. This is just a short form. Directly you can do it. Okay. Next, we will see divide the data set on target, age by group. See, so there are so many types of charting systems. So beautiful, so much information is coming from here. Okay. So what I will tell is that I'll I'll paste this in the chat. Okay. As a homework, you have to complete all this EDA done by this person yourself in your laptop. Okay, all of this, all the histograms, scatter plots, scatter charts, everything. Okay, cumulative density plot, do it. I know there will be doubts. That's okay. We'll take care about that. Okay. So, but you do it. You complete this entire EDA, and then what we will do is we'll discuss this EDA on Saturday. Okay, healthcare EDA. Okay, and this one, if we practice 2-3 EDAs like this, then our exploratory data analysis skills will be very much refined. Then we can add that as a skill set in our resume. Okay, so I have put this one. You have to do this as a homework, and while doing the homework, don't just finish it. Realize it, that why he is doing, why, what is the reason behind this EDA, right? So how he reached to this conclusion, what inspired him to take these two columns, why not those two columns? Okay, so question yourself like this. Bring my in your mind these type of questions you bring. Why these two columns were taken as target values, not those two? So because then you try to find out the answer. If you don't write down in a note, in a paper, we will discuss that in the class. Okay, so any doubts, anybody?
So how do we download the CSV file for this?
Deepika has put it in the chat, so you can download from there.
Okay, got disconnect, join again. Let me.
Yeah, so oh, you lost your chat, huh? Okay, well,
Yeah.
I'll put it again. Wait, I'll put it.
From the Kaggle website, how do I get this?
Kaggle, it should come. I don't know why it is not happening. See, I uploaded. You can
Okay,
quickly,
download it. Yeah.
yeah, you can quickly download. It will. Okay, so everybody downloaded the data, and you also have the link for the EDA. So complete this homework and let's meet on Saturday. So I have planned this way that Wednesdays or Thursdays, we will be doing like this practical. I will be going through code by code and this type of thing. And Saturday, Sunday, we will be going through some theory for the initial days. Later on, we will completely move into practical. Okay, so we will do some EDAs. We will take down EDAs from Kaggle, and we will do much better EDA than what they have done. Okay, so that will be kind of a challenge. We can form groups, like Imran and Deepika can be a group, Shivananda and Nitesh can be a group. So we'll do that way. Okay.
Sure, I know it is too early, but when can you expect to compete in this Kaggle?
Yeah, we can compete in a month's time. I think you should be ready.
At least we can start as a group, maybe
Yeah,
then.
yeah. We can start as a group in a month's time. We can form a team and we can start taking up assignments from Kaggle. Not a problem.
Okay, thank you.
Uh, uh, Bimal, are you there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Yeah. So you had this Google collaborator, right? Google. So Google Colab. So you have to go to Google Colab, which is collab.research.google.com.
Mhm.
And in here, you have to, oh, I am already logged in. So if you are logged in your Chrome browser, in your Google account, so directly you will go there and you can create a new notebook. You see here, create a new notebook. So
Yes.
I have many myself. I have done so many things here. Okay, these are mine. Okay, so you can do a new notebook here. So what will happen is that you don't need Python or anything or any IDE on your computer. Okay, so you will get this as a virtual coding area where you can write your code, like print, say, hello world. Okay, so you can execute it and it executes. So you don't need anything. You just log in into your Google account and go to Google collab.research.google.com, and then you start your notebook, and on your notebook you do all your assignments.
Okay.
So that will be enough. So you can download this CSV. This CSV also you can read from there.
Okay.
So you have, see, you have sample data here. You have a folder here. Okay, so I had kept some so suppose we have this heart attack data, right? So first upload the data here
Yeah.
and then you can read it from here.
Okay. So then, okay. So Kaggle we're just using for reference purpose, right?
Yeah, Kaggle we are just using so that we don't have data, right? We cannot. We are getting data. We are getting reference code. We are getting so once we are experts, then we will go to Kaggle competitions and do it here.
But
Okay.
this way, if we'll upload in the sample data, right, the next time when we'll reload it, I think it will automatically remove from here. We need to mount the drive to get it permanent.
Yeah, I think so. My drive is mounted. So see, this is the mount drive. So you can directly mount your drive, connect to Google Drive account.
Okay.
Okay. So your drive account will be connected, and from your drive account, it will directly take the CSV files. You can directly then read from there.
Okay.
So you
So
don't.
I think after we authorize it, there is another command where we have to map our Google Drive, that particular folder.
Okay. If you can put that in the WhatsApp group, then it will be really
I will
great.
try to get there was a complete video in YouTube. I'll try to get that.
Okay, great.
You're breaking quite badly, Nitesh. I can't hear you, but
Yeah, so he said he will upload, he will give a link of a video that he
okay.
has, which will actually you can map your local folder into the collab.
No, Vishwa, it's not the local folder. It's the Google Drive. We can
Oh,
create a
okay,
dedicated folder for it.
Okay, even that will do. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, so you really don't need Python or a Python IDE on your system. You can do it on your browser, everything on your browser.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, thank you. If there is no more doubts, I'll end the class. We'll meet on Saturday, 3 p.m.
Thank you.